Hello and welcome to eMultiskills video tutorial. In this video tutorial, we will learn how to use PostgreSQL .conf on Postgre in Linux environment. So the first thing is, what is PostgreSQL.conf file? So PostgreSQL.conf file is a parameter file which is available on Postgre server when the Postgre server is installed, and the parameters are read when the server starts. When the server restarts, it means when the Postgre server restarts, and most of the parameters are global parameters, and they are read when the server is starting up. And let's see some of the facts about the server parameter file, which is PostgreSQL.conf, like what is the location of PostgreSQL.conf on Linux environment, and how do we change it, how do we check. So let's see a small demo. This is my PostgreSQL server. So I'll just say systemctl status PostgreSQL. Uh, the version is PostgreSQL 12, so you can see the status is active and running. So what I'll say is pSQL, and I'll be connected to the Postgre prompt. So by default, PostgreSQL.conf is located in data directory. So if you say show data underscore directory, it will be available at this location. Or if you wanted to see the exact location, you will have to say uh, show config underscore file. So you can write show config underscore file. So this will give you the complete location of PostgreSQL.conf file, and you can view it using the view command, or if you wanted to modify some of its parameter, you can uh, save the changes using vi, and some of the parameters require server reboot, some of them may not require the server reboot. So that is a very interesting point, like how to check which one is requiring the. Okay, this is my PostgreSQL.conf, and how do we check the parameters? So it is the parameters are listed in pg underscore settings. So if you say select name comma settings from pg underscore settings, you will be able to see all the parameters. So you can see allow system modes, so it is in alphabetical order. So I think it is close to some 300 parameters, so 314 parameters are there, and you can see the values on the right side, the parameter name on the left side. Let's see how many distinct parameters are there. So we'll say select distinct context, context from pg underscore settings. So if there is a context as postmaster against any parameter, that means when you try to modify that parameter, at that time you need to restart your PostgreSQL instance so that the changes are reflected. So we discussed about postmaster context. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. How to modify PostgreSQL.conf parameter. So we checked how to check the parameter, and then we will see how to modify it. So let's see some of very basic parameter. Like if I say show port, it will show me at what port this Postgre is listening. So it is listening at 5432 port number, or there is a very basic parameter which is max underscore connection. So if I say show max underscore connection, so there are 100 connections allowed at one particular point of time, and if you go beyond this, you will not be allowed to connect it. So let's see how do we uh, make changes to this parameter from 100 to 200. There are two ways. One way is either you edit the parameter file using UI editor and you restart the instance, or you can use there is something called as alter system. You just say alter system set max connection equal to new value. So in this case, we are trying to increase it from 100 to 200. So I'll say alter system set max connection equal to 200. So let's do that. So it has changed to 200, but this requires reboot, so this will not be reflected as of now. So if I say show max connections, it will still show 100. So where do we find like it has gone to? So let's go to the data directory and show data directory. I think we already executed it, and so this is the location of PostgreSQL.conf cd one step back, and this is the data directory. So if I say ls-lrt, so there is a file which is called as postgresql.auto.conf. So if you view this file, you will be able to see the alter command which you just fired. So max connection equal to 200. So what happens when you restart your instance? When you restart your instance, this value is picked up from here. First of all, your postgresql.conf is read, and then this postgresql.auto.conf parameter will be read. So let us restart the instance. Sudo systemctl restart postgresql 12. So instance is restarted. Just check the status. It is in the running mode, and now let's uh, log into the command prompt PSQL, and we'll say show uh, max underscore connections, which we updated using set parameter alter system. So you can set the parameter globally using alter there. So there are some parameters which are applicable for global. There are some which are at what do you say, the session level. There are some at your user level, so you need to classify them. Okay, moving on to the next one. So there are different components which are available in PostgreSQL.conf. So there is something called so when you open it or when you view it using the view command or edit it using the VI, you will be able to see something called as connections and authentication, which will have listen address equal to localhost. That means um, this particular tutorial is not about defining what are the different parameters like, but this will give you a kind of glimpse of what is PostgreSQL.conf, how to modify it, where it exists, and what all can be done with this. So there is, in this particular section, connection and authentication, you have listen underscore address equal to localhost. By default, Postgre do not allow the remote connections, so it is equal to localhost. So if you have to allow remote connection, you need to change this value from localhost to the IP address of the server. In my case, the IP address of my system is 71.192.168.1.71. So in case I have to allow the remote IP address connection, so I will have to add the IP address of the server itself, where server is running, Postgres server is running. Port is 5432. Max connection is equal to 100 at this present time. So you can see on the right hand side of each parameter there is change requires restarts. If you try to restart, change the value of max connection from 100 to 200, you need to restart the server, sorry, the my Postgre instance. And let's move on to the next one, connection and authentication. Then you have something called as resource usage. So how much of resource you wanted to give to Postgre server. So by default, for our system where I have 2 GB of RAM, I have given 128 MB. So when you are tuning such parameters, shared buffer, you need to set to some minimum value, let's say 15 to 20% of the RAM. Then you need to gradually increase till the time you find the optimum usage of the RAM. So if you try to update any of the parameter like huge pages or shared buffer, it says the change requires restart. So you need to restart the change. But there are some parameters you will not see like change requires restart, like work underscore mem is equal to 4 MB. So uh, uh, this is work area when some temporary rearrangement has to happen in the memory. So you can see it is some 64 KB, and as of now it is 4 MB. And if you have to increase the value, you do not need to. I think this can be done on the fly. The next one is val, which is write ahead log. That means whenever any change is made to the database, so before writing to the database, it has to be written to a file which is a val log. So you have these replication parameters also mentioned in PostgreSQL.conf. So you have sending servers, you have master server, you have standby server. We'll have a separate session for replication. In PostgreSQL.conf, you have something called as query tuning also. You can enable the hash join or index scan. So by default, they are on. If you wanted to turn it off, you can do that as well. So you have a lot of parameters, some 312 parameters we saw in PostgreSQL.conf. So based on your requirement, you can turn it on or off. Reporting and logging, like let's say where I wanted to record all what is happening, so you can put it into where to log. Then you have when to log and what to log, so you have all the flexibility available. Auto vacuum is one of the greatest feature in Postgre. So any unused space or any kind of maintenance activity happens by in this auto vacuum. So by default, it is enabled. So we have a separate session on auto vacuum. Client connection or defaults are available. Then you have lock management is also available, like what happens when the deadlock is the instance faces the deadlock situation, like how many locks per transaction it can support in particular point of time. Then you have version and platform compatibility. So this is somewhat related to your backward compatibility. Error handling. So when your instance suffers some kind of error, what it is going, what it's supposed to do, it is supposed to exit or restart, or what it has to do. Config file includes, so this will give you the location. So this option allows settings to be loaded from file other than the default PostgreSQL.conf. In case you wanted some non-default PostgreSQL.conf, so you can do it in config file includes. And that is it. So just a recap, like what we saw is we did a small demo like how to find the location of PostgreSQL.conf, and then we saw if the context is postmaster, then in that case you have to restart your instance. And if you there are parameters which can be changed globally using alter system set command, and there are some parameters which requires restart. And when you say older system set, and if it requires a restart, it goes to PostgreSQL.conf auto file, and it is read when your instance is coming up. So the first one is to be read is PostgreSQL.conf, and that is the second one in that. And there are several other parameters which are available in PostgreSQL.conf. Let us see how it looks. So let's go to the data directory, ls-lrt, and this is PostgreSQL.conf. If I just say vi, if I wanted to add it, I'll have to do this. So this is PostgreSQL.conf. So the file consists of lines in the form name equal to value. So there is a parameter, and on the right hand side there will be a value. So it is mentioned over here that this file is read on server startup, and when the server receives a sign-up signal, if you added the file on a running system, you have to sign up the server for the changes to take place. Run pg underscore ctl reload or execute select pg underscore reload underscore conf. Some parameters which are marked below requires a server shutdown and restart to take place. So you can see there is one parameter section which is file location, like what should be the location of data directory, HBA file, ident file, external PID. Then you have connection and authentications. Listen address is very important if you have to enable remote connection. So I have mentioned the IP address. Port is by default this one. Max connection is 100. Super user result connection is 3. So this is under connection and authentication. Then you have the second parameter section, which is resource usage. Like you can mention the amount of the RAM which can be dedicated to shared buffer or work memory, and so on. And so there are a lot of parameters which you can do. Then you have val log parameter. So lot of things are there in each section. Then you have replication section, wherein you can once you or have the replication set up, you can enable the parameters. So we'll have a separate session for this. Then you have something called as query tuning. So it is there is a great scope available in PostgreSQL.conf. Then you have reporting and logging, like where to log, what to log, and like rotation also is available. What, when, and where. So everything is available for your this thing. Then you have process title, like what should be the Postgre cluster name. Then you have statistics section. Auto vacuum is there. Then you have client connection defaults. We are not discussing the individual components. Then you have log management. You have version and platform compatibility. Then you have error handling component. I'm just going through the different components which we have. So there are 312 parameters which are available. So, and uh, and it depends, like if parameter has postmaster attached to it, that means underscore pg underscore settings, then you have to restart the instance. Otherwise, you don't need to do so. So I hope it is going to help, and thanks for watching.